Welcome back to the JMach Podcast, where we are combating veteran suicide one story, one conversation at a time. And I'm your host, JMach. Remember, your mental health matters and you're not alone. Don't hesitate to reach out and pick up your phone and call your friends or family, or head over to jmachpodcast.org to stay connected and get on our social medias. Now enjoy the show. I enjoy the crickets. Thank you for all staring back. Let me see your glasses, Gramps. All right, everybody, welcome back to the JMach Podcast, where we combat veteran and first responder suicide, one story, one conversation at a time, reminding you that your mental health matters and you're not alone. We all have our struggles. This episode of the JMach Podcast is sponsored by TRC. Total Roofing and Construction is an exterior contractor professionals that specialize in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and windows. Today, I am blessed to be sitting down with the brother whose story defines resilience, rebirth, from growing up in tough environments and learning grit the hard way, to serving in the U.S. Air Force, to becoming a leader, connector, and advocate for veterans all across Arizona. He's the founder of Wicked Awesome Connections, serves on the Veteran Medical Leadership Council, and continues to build community through business, film, and service. He's a man of faith, purpose, and perseverance. Air Force veteran Dave Walters. I'm pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, brother. I'm psyched to be here with you.
Yeah,
hello,
brother.
everybody.
So how are you doing today?
Today has been a long day. Good for the most part, but long. I started it in Denver.
Oh, yes.
Had an event last night. Flew in around, 8-ish or some shit like that. Worked a full day, and I'm stoked to be out here. Traffic was, I can't even say what traffic was on the way out here, but it was a fathermucker. I mean, it was crazy.
It's wicked awesome that you showed up, even though you came from Colorado.
Yeah.
I just got to ask, I know you said it's been a long day, but how are you really doing? How's life really treating you?
You know, the wonderful thing about life is often, and right now is the same, it's the best and the worst at the same time, right? As vets, as business people, as parents, shit happens.
Yeah.
And we know that. And the older we get, the less the shit that happens affects us and makes us spin, right? It's one of those things. It's one of the great things about being a veteran, because in our service, no matter how great the plan was, it never happened the way that it was going to happen, right?
Right.
There was plan A and then B, C. Usually plan Q kind of worked a little bit with Z, And once we take that from our, tool belt and toolbox that we had in the military, and can adapt that to our civilian life, man, that shit really helps. No matter how dark of a day I'm having, I refuse to not be a light for others.
Okay. I can't wait to dive in to learn how that mindset came about. So let's just start from the very beginning. And how was your childhood?
Oh, man. It was, thank God I made it to adulthood.
Right.
It's awesome. Oh my gosh, I grew up, a lot of people grew up without a bunch of money. And so pretty common. And then my parents got divorced and we had way less. Government cheese is pretty good.
Okay.
You throw some hot sauce and stuff on there, that's all right. And I learned at 14 a lesson I didn't really want to learn, but it was good to learn it, that although people might say family is everything and, your blood and all that stuff, when a parent decides to not be a parent for a while and you get to raise your brother and sister for a bit, a 10 and a 6-year-old that don't want to listen because they're your brother and sister, but at least I could beat their ass because I was their older brother. I wasn't their parent. So they did listen, but working, full-time, high school, making sure that they were taken care of. I remember after a couple of months, walking over to my grandparents and talking to my grandfather. I was like, Pa, Mom's not around, as much, and I don't know what's going on, and we need help. And he's like, David, you never know what's going to happen in life. You're a big kid. You're a good kid. You got it. Now get the fuck out of here.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, okay, thanks. So I learned to rely not just on myself, because it's never about ourselves. I got back into like prayer because it was literally the only thing I could do, other than stuff I wanted to do that was illegal that maybe I was doing anyway. But as far as dealing with the mental stuff, like having all that, being the man of the house as a teenager, that didn't even have a car yet. And then like walking to work, walking home. When you're walking home from work at like midnight or 1 a.m. as a 14, 15-year-old, you don't always make it home in the same condition in which you left, right? So there was a few nights that I left the house with a certain amount of money and no bruises on my body. And then I got back to the house in different condition with no money and many bruises because, getting jumped, getting robbed and stuff like that. And it's just a part of it, right? Like it wasn't a big deal. I didn't even think about it until I got out of the Air Force and I was an adult and had to go through counseling because I was like, oh, why do I act like this? Why do I have an explosive anger response to certain things? Maybe that's not the best way to deal with people. That was the example that I saw growing up. And it worked really well. Like if you're in a survive or die environment, well, it makes a mindset that doesn't lead to massive success in your future. It creates like a scarcity mindset. I got to take something. I got to take their shit to have my shit. And that's a falsehood.
Do you feel like you were stuck in like the fight or flight from a young age?
Totally. Yeah. And I still don't have flight. It's just fight.
Okay.
Now I have pause.
Okay.
There's amazing tools, that therapy, Pathfinder program, and other, modalities that I've gone through help. I still just have fight, but I have pause. And pause is wonderful. That gives the ability to intake any situation and not react, but actually choose how to act.
So is pause an acronym for something, or you literally just pause?
No, I just take a pause.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during that time, you just sit there and reflect on it and how you want to respond, or like
Yes.
walk me through a pause.
So
for you.
with myself, if something happens to whether any strong emotion, right? Whether it's anger or sadness or, exuberance, whatever it is, I'll just like take a second, especially if it's on the negative end, and I see the stuff I used to do. Like I see the old version of me, and I'm like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. That's not good. And then I'm like, well, what would a well-adjusted, emotionally mature version of myself do? Oh, sometimes it's not to react at all. Sometimes it's to walk it back, to realize, oh man, I was like really full of ego on that. I see how how my actions made them act, and then I was all mad at them, but actually it was shit that I did in the first place, right? So being able to get above the situation and see it in that pause, and then act appropriately. And more often than not, it's a correct action that leads to a positive response. Whereas before, I didn't really care about the result. I just wanted to nuke everything.
Yeah.
And that's a shitty way to go.
You see, I don't know if this is a blessing or a curse, but I grew up where I always worried about the repercussions of things. So it kept me from doing. I still did stupid things, right? But it held me back a little bit. My dad's he's a retired police officer, so I was always afraid of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And all that because I felt like small town, dad's a cop. Like, dude, they'll know everything.
They did know everything. I was good at talking my way out of stuff, though.
Yes, I learned that very well. Now I have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Amen.
So looking back on your childhood and family environment, what key experiences or influence shaped who you are today?
I mentioned my grandfather. Also my dad. Our family were, very hard workers. And just kind of had that mindset, when you say you're going to do something, do it, right? It was common sense, I thought. But a particular experience was after I told my grandfather that I was going in the Air Force. And he was like, David, that's awesome. He's like, but don't move back here. He's like, I see what you're doing. Don't move back here. He's like, this isn't home for you anymore. And I was like, what? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, look, I don't know where you're supposed to go. God knows where you're supposed to go. I know that you're not supposed to be here when you get out. Because I was doing a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have met any of you guys. And you might have read about me in the paper, but we certainly would have met. And so it was like jarring because I'm the oldest grandchild and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, why would my grandfather throw me out of Boston? But he loved me so much that he had that hard conversation. I'm so thankful that he did that because I would have gone right back to Boston when I got out of the service. That was my plan. Linked back up with my buddies, had a job lined up. Again, can't really discuss it. But that was a huge experience for me. And then another big one was my favorite teacher in high school, Mr. Garagosian. I did like marketing and stuff like that. It was one of the choices on the classes. Massachusetts might not have a lot of, has a lot of good stuff. The high schools were the best. Like if you couldn't graduate some way from a high school in Massachusetts, I don't even know. There was 5 ways to graduate. There was like the school for kids that had behavioral issues and substance and stuff like that. There was high school with 4 different tracks, general, college, AP, honors. And then there was a vocational high school in town as well. So everybody got a diploma. It wasn't a typical high school diploma that we all think of in a lot of cases, but everybody graduated from high school. And that was kind of a cool thing. So our teachers meant a lot to us because we could tell that they cared. And my favorite one, senior year in high school, I'm 17 and goes around the room and he's like, David, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, oh, I'm gonna be the founder or CEO of an international like marketing, advertising company. And he's like, no, you're not gonna do that. And I was like, yeah, no, I am. He's like, no, you're not. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that shit. And he's like, no, David, you can't do that. You'll never have that. And there I am in front of class. And I was like, Mr. G, all these other kids, you asked, and you didn't say shit about them. But me, and then I popped up because I was 17 and I was a hothead. And he's like, this right here, this version of you will never, ever have any of that, ever. He's like, however, if you survive and if you grow to a version of you, there is a version that'll have all that and more. Will have everything that you have had. I didn't understand that till I moved here. I moved here in 2011. He told me that shit in 1992. And I didn't fully realize it until January this year when Wicked Awesome Happy Hour became an international events marketing company.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, it was one of those things that sometimes we get really, really good advice when we're younger and we store it and remember it. We don't know why, but then 20 years later, it hits and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what he was talking about.
So with that said, and like growing up, getting jumped, robbed, having an angry father, how were you able to take that mindset from like the victim, like poor me, like this sucks, my dad's the problem, these people.
I was never the victim.
Okay.
In my mind. I just lost that fight.
Okay.
So like some people have a lot of stuff happen and the natural human reaction or whatever is to be like, I'm a victim, I'm this, I'm that. I never felt that. Maybe it's a defect in my mind that I never felt that. I was just like, oh, well, today was a shitty one. It's going to be better tomorrow. Hey, they didn't kill me. Awesome. I didn't break any bones. It was only money.
Right.
So I don't know. I looked at it weird. It did screw with my, I never heard of imposter syndrome before till I moved out this way. And somebody was talking about it shortly after I moved out. And I was like, oh man, there is times that I'm in a meeting or something and these guys are worth however much and they've done all these amazing things. And I'm like, I haven't done that yet, I'm like, wow, why am I even in the room? So I had that sometimes, I didn't understand what it was. And it's because the way that I grew up and how I grew up, I carried it like a badge of honor to actually survive to adulthood, but also as kind of like a bit of a shame thing. Like, man, I could have, if I hadn't gone through that, maybe I would even be doing more stuff. And man, the quicker that we can work through that pile of shit and lies, the better. Because that's all it was, is the adversary just trying to push me down, right?
Right. Yeah, so what I'm curious is like when that mindset switched, where you took all that negative and turned it into a positive to grow who you are.
All right, so the two biggest things that helped with that was starting the happy hour, being a new person, and I'm really, as a kid, I was an introvert. And for Boston, an introvert might be a little bit different than out here, that version of introvert. But I was like the quiet kid, and I noticed that senior year in high school, this kid moved to town. All of us hated him because he was the new kid, and the girls liked him, so we really hated him. and then he threw a party, and everybody loved him. So I remember that when I moved down here, and I was like, oh, I'm doing all this networking stuff. I got to meet people to, have them to help them buy life insurance and annuities and stuff. I got licensed in that 12 years ago, and I was like, I used to throw parties in high school after the new kid, showed me the way. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it out here. So the first thing was being a leader, like stepping up, right? That helps to chip away that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm leading a community. And then another experience out here was going through a divorce. And my son's mother and I were together for 20 years, married for 17. And I was of the opinion of, you don't need help. You can just work through it, and therapy is for losers, and you're weak if you do that. Wow, I couldn't have been more wrong. It was that, just suck it up, shut up. Don't complain, stop crying, just do it. And when I went through that divorce, it was like a complete untethering of everything that I had worked for 20 years. So I was like, oh man, I don't know what to do. Everything that I worked for, everything I did for 20 years was for her. And then, for Christopher when he came along. And I didn't know how to put that back together in my mind. And I almost didn't make it through that. I was note writing close to not being here. And God basically just was like, you need to talk to somebody. And it was crazy. It was a Catholic therapist that reached out to me out of the blue. And I was like, oh, thanks. I mean, my gosh. And I wasn't Catholic at the time. I grew up Catholic. We don't need to get into the whole...
Yeah.
But that was such a blessing that he humbled me enough and dropped my ego enough that I could see that I needed help.
Okay.
And then working through the stuff with that therapist and learning what the ACEs battery is and all that, the ACEs test and stuff, I thought it was like a score from a game, not a golf score. If you guys aren't familiar, you want to have the lowest score. A 0 would be wonderful on that. And it's adverse childhood experience something, right? For those of you in mental health. And so she's explaining, so these questions that I'm going to ask you, you want to have a golf score. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't golf, but I get it, low. And I scored a 4. And that's not good, apparently. Apparently that's not good. So she started dropping stats and all that kind of stuff that I should be like in jail or dead or an addict or whatever else. And I was like, that's not what he had for me. I still didn't know at the time what he had for me, but I knew all that stuff wasn't it. And I knew I needed to talk to the person that was an expert in, psychology to figure out the issues that I had. And there was a lot. It was like abandonment, rage, like all kinds of other stuff. And just because there were areas in me that were broken, it didn't mean that I was broken. Right? But there was stuff to fix, but I wasn't a failure or a loser or, of no worth or whatever. It was just, okay, cool. Now we have the light on all these places that we can grow, we can repair, or we can just flush and stop with better programming. And then doing the happy hour, I'm kind of a nerd research guy. I like to win the war before it's fought. I like to get all the pieces together and all that stuff, just like negotiating in business. I love that shit. Because if I'm in a room negotiating with you on something, I already know everything that you do and that you did and what you're thinking. Because it's my job to know that. So I can work it in such a way that the desired result is what happens. A win for both of us, right? Because it's not worth doing if everybody can't win. And that is part of an abundance mindset. That was like one of those things. It was like late night. It was probably 10 years ago. And I'd come back from having some fun. And I was just kind of thinking, no, it was 8 years ago, actually. And I was just thinking about stuff. And there was something on TV about a religious revival And it wasn't Christianity. It was, I don't know, one of those, just a religious revival kind of a thing. And I was like, oh, there's so many people that believe in a higher power. There's 8 billion people on this planet. 6 billion believe in a higher power of some sort. And everybody's version is a being that's everywhere all the time and is of love and abundance. So I'm like, okay, well, as a Christian, yeah, we know that. Wow, if all these people that believe in a higher power, their thing is that, at least at its base, that has to be truth. So abundance has to be the true way if we're a person that believes in a higher power. You know, whether we're Christian or whatever we are, it doesn't matter. And then I was like, okay, well, then in the rest of my life, it's abundance as well. It may not physically be in abundance, but you can live up here in abundance. And when you're looking at stuff and acting through that lens, it's a lens of love. And, you know, it just changes everything, man. It was like such a huge difference. Okay. I never shied away from hard conversations, but I didn't always do it with the best heart. Sometimes it was hurtful for people. Not that I gave a shit.
Right.
But looking at it through the lens of abundance, you can have tough conversations with people, especially the people that are close to you, and they don't intake it as an attack or anything, right? They feel that love, that knowledge that you've gained probably from something that you've gone through, and you're sharing with them to help collapse that time frame to success in whatever interaction it was, or not taking action on some things.
Right. Let's jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
And tell me what led you to join the Air Force.
I failed out of college.
Okay.
I was the first one in my family to get into a 4-year school. It was the #1 business school in the country, school year 1993, Babson College. Beat out Penn State's Wharton for best business school in the country. And if I got grades on social stuff, I would have had a 4.0. It's not how they grade you. My blood alcohol level was higher than my GPA.
Okay.
So that's not how you get invited back to college for a second year. And so that was like devastating, right? So like my family, Italian family from Boston, like I felt the hopes and dreams of my whole family like heaped on me. Oh, wow, you made it to college. Like the whole future of the family was on me. And I just fucked it all up. Couldn't have done any worse. And that was devastating. I just felt like a piece of shit. And I had come home one night. It's when they used to have the national anthem on at the end of the programming day for those of us that are, you know, a little bit older. Not old by any means, but so I was watching it, and the F-16s at the end. I was like, I got to make something of my life. I'm going in the Air Force. I want to do that. And I walked down a few hours later to the recruiter and signed up, delayed enlistment, because I had to handle some stuff first before I could go in. And yeah, man, that's why I decided to do it. I was like, I have to make a radical change.
And how would you describe your time in service?
I had a blast most of the time.
Your blood alcohol level is still probably higher.
Oh, man, not anymore. I quit drinking.
In the Air Force?
No, God, not in the Air Force.
You're contractual alcoholic in the military.
I honed my drinking skills. Man, I could throw back 30 beers and a half a bottle of whatever, you know, in a night. Man,
that's the pregame. What are you talking about?
We can't do anything else in the military, right? So we really get good at the alcohol use.
What led you to get out of the Air Force?
I was in from 94 to 98, and like I said, I enjoyed the experience most of the time, but they were drawing the military down back then after Desert Storm, and they came up with the 15-year, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19-year full retirement. And the Air Force, like the other branches of service, is very smart and great with numbers, and they figured, if we offer this, a certain percentage will get out. They were wrong. Over 90% of the people that could get out got out. So what happened? That created a huge gap in the Air Force training. So they changed the Air Force regs so that E3s could be certified trainers without getting promoted to E4s. And I think all branches of service did that at the time. Maybe it's back now. I don't know. But in the Air Force, I was fortunate to train all of my supervisors and stuff after that, which sucks as an E3, but it was actually kind of cool to be the person of influence and be one of the lowest ranking. But I was like, you know what? this isn't for me. I'm not going to stay in if I can't get promoted. Leading is great, but not having the rank with it is stupid. So that's why I decided to get out.
What was the transition like for you?
Oh, man. So we met on a Saturday. There was 8 of us in the room. This tech sergeant, this E6, tech sergeant, so-and-so gives us this book, Blue to Gray. It's like this. And he's like, here you go. Here's your book. Cool. He's like, you guys got any other plans for today? And we're like, no, we don't. We're scheduled to be here. He's like, well, it's a beautiful day. You guys look intelligent. Everything you need is in that book. Have a good one. And he rolled out. So we left too. We got a whole day to do whatever we wanted. And I didn't know how to interview. I didn't know how to do a resume. I didn't even understand until after I got out that I had a hole. You know, like signing that doc when you go in as a teenager or early 20s, we have no idea the hole that it creates in us once we get out. That service, right? We were crazy enough to write a blank check up to our life for our country. For, quite frankly, a lot of people that don't even like us, that actively hate us. And we don't hit it. That doesn't hit us till later. And we fill it with something. Some people fill it with faith. Some people fill it with any kind of substance or whatever you can, and all kinds of other self-destructive things.
Yeah.
Right? And was the path that I was on, again, until I moved here and I started to give back, get on these boards and commissions and help start some things and really get back involved with my family, with my true family, with my vet brothers and sisters.
How long do you feel like you were struggling before you realized you were struggling because you got out?
13 years.
And
I'm stubborn.
Could not imagine. So with being stubborn and taking 13 years, after we handled everything inappropriately with like cannabis, drinking, or what other substances, what do you use now to handle stress and everything life throws at you?
Prayer, some cannabis still. Mushrooms are pretty good once in a while. But it's one of those, it's a choice. It's not just a reaction, go spark one up. No, I do a lot of prayer and meditation, and then I stay thinking about the present. Like the negative self-talk and self-thoughts, I smash that shit pretty fast now. Especially after going through the Pathfinder program that the VA has. You just recognize stuff so much quicker. So yeah, I'll throw myself into something like that. Maybe go eat at a new restaurant. I'm a big foodie, even though I lost like 50 pounds. Love food. Some people eat to live because they got to. Nah, not me, not my family. We live to eat.
Okay. I have a question about so the mushrooms and microdosing. How does that play along with your religion? Like,
do nothing to excess.
Okay.
I just go with that.
Okay. And how has mushrooms or any other plant medicine helped you? Like, what changes have you noticed?
So the cannabis, that helped me because, as a lot of us, we were on painkillers. The Motrin 800s is what they throw at you. And, I was taking like 4 of those 4 times a day. And then they step it up. I was on all of the opioids that they had to prescribe. And I used faith and I used cannabis to get off of those in 2000. And, you can take a certain amount of pain, and having a pain tolerance is not a bad thing. It's probably a really good thing, because once like with joint pain and stuff, like how painful it's going to get. And once you know how bad the pain is, you can manage it much better. You don't have to drink it or whatever away. And those really bad days, I still use cannabis. Okay. But again, it's like it's a choice and a last resort. If I can do exercise or whatever else, I'll do that as well. And then the mushrooms, it's good to just, sometimes you need to pop out of here and be a little higher up to recalibrate and readjust. And once in a while, something like that is the perfect tool for the job.
Okay. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. We got to wrap this up a little bit. I just have some real questions I want to ask first. You've talked about writing letters. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah. So I had gotten divorced, and I didn't know when I was going to see my son again. He and I had an extremely close relationship, and I just, my job wasn't going well at the time. There was a whole bunch of other stuff that was happening, and I didn't want to be here anymore. And I felt like that for a few days, and I felt like that for like a week, and then I was like, I'm miserable. Why should I be here? Probably it's better off. My son will be better off if I'm not here because my life insurance, and I've had the policy for over 2 years, so I can kill myself and they'll still pay him, is what I was thinking. So I started to write my letters. Like wrote one to my mom, wrote one to my dad, wrote one to Christopher. And when I was writing the one to him, I was like, man, I always tell him Waltzer's never quit. This is the ultimate quit. And I was like, that's all right, he'll understand. So I finished and had my plan, I had my pistol and I was ready. And a buddy of mine called me out of the blue. I hadn't talked to him in like 10 years. And it was one of the guys that I served with. I don't even know how he got my number at the time. And he's like, hey, Dave. He's like, hey, man, I got your number, and I was thinking of you, brother. You remember that time when we were over in Korea? And I'm like, yeah. And so he's talking. He's like, I love you, brother. He's like, I'll talk to you soon. Click. And I was like, wow. I was like, all right. Because, at that moment, I was like, give me a sign if I'm supposed to be here, because I'm done. And that's when he called. And I've been blessed to have that same thing happen. Like, somebody pops into my mind, and I've done that and called and been that person that called. And I had a buddy, every time I see him, I just gotta hug this guy. And some of you guys, anyway, I called him out of the blue. I woke up, one night 4 a.m, and he popped into my head. And I had a friend of mine a couple of years earlier that I didn't pick up the phone call. And then his girlfriend called me in the morning and he had taken his life. And the last person that he called was me. And that was shitty. So I vowed anytime after that, I would call no matter what time. I would call. I wouldn't text. I would call. So I called my buddy. It's 4 a.m. And it's just, hey, brother, I'm thinking of you. Love you. Man, I saw this thing that's going on this weekend. I want to bring you with. And I didn't. He's like, yeah. Wait, what? He just seemed out of sorts. And I was like, you all right? He's like, no, I'm not. He's like, I'm good now, though. He's like, man, thanks for the call. He's like, can I call you in the morning? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you good? He's like, yeah. So he hangs up, and we do coffee a few days later. And I was like, what's going on, man? How you doing? He's like, bro. He's like, I had my fucking pistol in my mouth when you called. And I was like, he goes, I was praying, give me a sign. And I was like, holy shit, man. I've been exactly right there. You popped into my head. And I called, and it happened a couple, and I told him what happened. He's like, thanks for calling. He's like, because I wouldn't have been here.
That's something you taught me from our previous conversations outside here, that if somebody ever pops up into your head, doesn't matter the time or what, just give them a call.
Yeah.
You never know who it's going to save or what effect it's going to have.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you teaching me that.
Yeah.
And so now you've taken all that pain and you've turned it into purpose. Tell us about the work you're doing now to serve others.
Yes. So although we only have 24 hours in a day, we can be really effective with that time. And with a platform, right, podcast, community, whatever, we can amplify our voice. There's a bunch of amazing organizations that are here, tonight. And man, every morning I'm just on fire to continue to serve. There's so much work that needs to be done. And especially after some recent events, it's very important, I feel, for us to be, those of us that are believers, to be loud in our faith. Not violently loud, but loud, right? Living those examples, treating others as we would expect to be treated, but dropping any expectation of return, because that's what kind of screws us up mentally. Oh, I treated you the right way, the way I wanted you to treat me, but you didn't treat me that way back. Yeah, It happens. Tough
Absolutely.
shit. It's all good. You know? And so if you don't expect it, then you're not let down. And you're doing that for the pure act of love to do it. So having a platform, speaking in front of however many people I can, as often as I can, and even doing Wicked Awesome Happy Hour. I mean, we had 121, so a little smaller attendance for October. You know, sometimes we have 150, 180, 200. The biggest one we had was 350, a Halloween party. That was wild.
Way to kick me while I'm down, Dave.
I've been doing that 11 years, though. My first one, I had 12.
Okay.
And I was psyched. My 3 friends that showed up were like, "Oh, dude, it's okay." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I don't even know these 8 people. This shit is great. Oh, man, I love this." And they were like, "Yeah, we would have stopped doing it, man." I'm like, "You guys are idiots." You know. But no, I love to be able to, having gone through all the stuff that has happened for me so far, whatever I can do to help shortcut some of those poor decisions that somebody might make or serve as the example, and also share operational know-how, right? And knowledge of how to get shit done. And it's just the attitude. Like, when I decide to do something, in my mind, it's already done. It's already done. How it is going to happen, that's his job. And he always delivers that. I just know it's going to be done. That's one of the great things about serving in the military. The goal is the goal. No matter what, that mission is going to get accomplished.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Thank you so much for being with me today. It was a wicked awesome conversation.
Thanks for having me,
sharing
bro.
your story, your faith, and your mission to keep serving. For anybody who wants to connect and get involved, where's the best place for them to find you?
Facebook,
Okay.
Instagram. So Dave Waltzer, Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn, David Waltzer. Wicked Awesome Happy Hour on LinkedIn. Wicked Awesome Happy Hour on Facebook. And Wicked Awesome Events on Insta. And also a text or a call works.
Awesome. And to our listeners, this is what the JMach Podcast is all about: fighting veteran and first responder suicide, one story, one conversation at a time. If you're struggling, please know your mental health matters and you are not alone. Tonight's Sandbox is proudly brought to you by Concerned Veterans for America, standing up for freedom, accountability, and a better future for every veteran. Learn how to get involved and make your voice heard with Tim over at the table. Until next time, stay strong, stay present, and stay connected. Now, I'd like to give each organization a chance to come up here for up to 2 minutes to share who you are and what you're about. Homer Record, you're up front, so let's go.